All right, so when it comes to the plot of a story, a play, a drama, anything, we've already reviewed. We know the different parts. We know that it has 5 parts: the exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. So in the beginning, we looked at it as a roller coaster. This time, we're going to look at it as a mountaintop. Alrighty. So the plot, this is the action, the events of a play. The plot must have some sort of pattern by which each action starts the next, rather than a standalone without any connection. So what that means is that the exposition is going to lead to the rising action will lead to the climax will then lead to the falling action, and the falling action will lead to the resolution. In the plot of a play, characters are involved in conflict that has a pattern or movement. The action and movement in the play begins in the initial conflict through rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. So just to review, in the exposition, this is where we are given our setting and characters. Our rising action is where we see our problems begin to occur. The climax, this is where the problem is the most intense. This is where the problem is at its worst. Then we go to our falling action. This is where we start to see a solution to our problem and we see things starting to work out. And at the very end, this is how the resolution is, where our story ends. We have a solution and all is well, usually. So our conflict, the struggle or problem, the character most overcome. It could be man versus man versus self, or man versus nature, also man versus society. The rising action, like I just went over, this is where we start to see our problem occur. And these are the same as what I just went over. I'll give you a minute to read this. If you need to pause the video, you can go ahead and do so. Okay, so we are now going to apply the plot structure to this story that we read yesterday, The Lion and the Mouse. We know our main characters are these two. So in the beginning, in our exposition, we're introduced to Mouse and her family, and throughout we're later introduced to Lion. Our setting that we saw under each scene, we can also put in the exposition. Next, we have our rising action. I know we would probably want to say that whenever Tiny was being attacked by all the different animals, that was probably at some point, the climax, but we have not gotten to the climax yet. So Tiny running, trying to save her life and hiding from all of these predators, that is all a part of the rising action that is leading up to our climax. The climax is the point where the lion was captured in the net right here. This is our climax. This is where Tiny is going to prove just how valuable she is. And then our falling action would be where Tiny is chewing through the ropes, helping Lion break loose. And in the end, Lion shows his appreciation to her by feeding her or raising her up to eat the Zuna berries. Okay, so plot is just that simple. It is the most important events in the story to help you get a good summary of what was read.